my physics project, I'm going to be talking about Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, and Elon Musk. First, Thomas Edison. So Thomas Edison was born to Sam and Nancy Edison on February 11th, 1847 in Milan, Ohio. He died on October 14th, 1931 in West Orange, New Jersey. He was the youngest of 7 children, and 4 of them only survived to adulthood. In fact, Thomas Edison was actually very sick most of his young life. And in 1854, Edison's father moved the family to Port Huron, Michigan to seek better fortune. He worked in the lumber business there, but Edison wasn't a very good student, so when schoolmaster insulted him, his mom started homeschooling him. So many years later, Thomas Edison credited his mom by saying, "My mother was the making of me. She was so true, so sure of me, and I felt I had someone to live for, someone I must not disappoint." So at a young age, Edison showed a fascination for mechanical things and chemical experiments. In 1859, Edison started a job selling newspapers and candy on the Grand Trunk Railroad. This is where he started his own paper. When Edison was 12, he lost almost all of his hearing there, and several theories are too wide. In 1862, Edison rescued a 3-year-old from a boxcar running over him. The father was very grateful, so he taught Edison railroad telegraphy as a reward. That following winter, he took a job as a telegraph operator in Port Huron, while still continuing his scientific experiment on the side. And in January 1869, Edison resigned from his job and devoted himself to inventing things, but that June he decided he wasn't going to waste his time inventing things that nobody was going to use. Some of his accomplishments are Thomas Edison invented the quadruplex telegraph, which was a game changer in the communication industry. He intended to sell it for $4,000. The first bidder offered $10,000, which would roughly be $216,000 today. Edison invented the first commercially practiced incandescent light bulb. There were light bulbs before, but they weren't at the cost that he had, and they were flawed a lot. And so on November 4th, 1879, Edison filed for a patent for an electric lamp. The bulb burned for over 1,000 hours while consuming minimal electricity. Another thing that he invented is the phonograph. In 1877, it began the era of sound recording. Also in 1877, Edison filed for a patent for the carbon microphone, which consisted of 2 metal plates separated by granules of carbon. This is a direct prototype of today's microphone. Next, I'm going to talk about Nikola Tesla. So he was born on July 10th, 1856 in Croatia. He was one of 5 siblings. He died on January 7th, 1943. When Tesla was 7, his brother was killed in a riding accident. Tesla was shocked by his loss and said that he started seeing visions. That was one of the first signs of his lifelong mental illness. And Tesla ended studying math and physics at the Technical Industry of Graz and studied philosophy at the University of Paraguay. In 1882, he came up with an idea for a brushless AC motor. In 1884, Tesla immigrated to the United States. When he arrived in New York, he was hired as an engineer at Thomas Edison's headquarters in Manhattan. He worked there for a year and quit once he and Edison had a miscommunication about a joke Edison made. When he unsuccessfully attempted to start his own electric company, Tesla found bankers to support his research, and in 1887 and 1888, he was granted more than 30 patents for his inventions. So some of his accomplishments. In 1887, Tesla got funding for his electric company, and by the end of that year, he successfully had several patents for the AC-based inventions. In 1895, Tesla designed one of the first AC hydroelectric power plants in the U.S. at Niagara Falls. That following year, the same thing was used to power the city of Buffalo, New York. In the late 19th century, Tesla patented the Tesla coil, which laid the foundation for wireless technologies, and this is actually still used in radio technology today. Last, we're going to talk about Elon Musk. So he was born on June 28, 1971 in South Africa, and is currently 48 years old. When he was a child, he was always lost in his daydreams about inventions that his parents wanted to get tests done to check his hearing. When Musk was 10, he developed an interest in computers and taught himself to program, and by the time he was 12, he sold his first software, which was a game called Blastar. When Musk was younger, he was short, introverted, and bookish. He was bullied until he got to the age of 15 and went through a growth spurt and took on karate and wrestling to defend himself. In 1989, when Musk was 17, he moved to Canada to go to Queen's University to avoid mandatory service in the South African military. The same year, he got his Canadian citizenship. He did this so it could be easier to get an American citizenship. He became an American citizen in 2002. In 1992, he attended the University of Pennsylvania, where he graduated with an undergrad degree for economics and physics. He then attended Stanford and got a PhD in energy physics. And some of his accomplishments was a plethora of companies, including PayPal, SpaceX, Zip2 Corporation, which is a company that launched with his brother in 1995. On May 22nd, 2012, Musk and SpaceX made history when they launched its Falcon 9 rocket into space with an unmanned capsule. It was sent to the International Space Station with 1,000 pounds of supplies for the astronauts there. This was the first time a private company sent a spacecraft to the ISS. And some of his accomplishments: Elon Musk is the CEO and product architect of Tesla Motors. This company was formed in 2003 and is dedicated to making affordable electric cars as well as battery products and solar roofs. The Roadster was unveiled in 2008 that came to from 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds and can travel about 250 miles in between charges. Also in 2008, the Model S was announced, and it was meant to take on the BMW 5 Series. There is also other models that include the Model 3, the semi-truck, and the Model Y. And that's it.